With news of the K-swap hatch taking a dinger right to the front face there, we're gonna have to start getting the GC going. This is a mess in here, guys. This is part 5 of project GC8 swap, whatever. We're working on, we're moving on, we're gonna get some stuff done today, but for the main portion is that we're gonna actually reroute the harness that I have for the swap into this car. Now the harness is an iwire harness number 678 that I had done a few years back, and it was for a version 7 JDM STI engine, which is the EJ207. If you have any JDM or even USDM swap and you want to retain the factory Impreza dash, so you have, you know, the old RS interior, you don't want to do the newer STI interior with dash cut or anything like that, modifying anything, and you want to keep HVAC is the main thing. You want heating, cooling, stuff like that, then you got to send it out for a merge. I mean, you could do it yourself, but time is money, honestly. I'd rather just send the cash, send the harness, prep the car while the harness is out, have it ready to go in. But that's the idea. Now, since this harness has already been in the car, it's not any different. It's just more of a mess because, you know, I like rat's nests, so that's what I like to do. But there is only one wire that you have to actually butt connect or solder or however you want to go about it, and one wire you got to clip in order to make the iWire setup working the best way it should, or not the best way, but to work at all, honestly. So that's it. Otherwise, it's a plug and play disaster on my floor that needs to be untangled and routed appropriately. So I guess jump in. If you haven't already, hit the sub button. Here's your harness kind of laid out, how you kind of want everything to flow in terms of directions. You kind of want to figure out how everything is laid in there before you put it in, so you can kind of just throw it in, heave it in, so that everything's generally where they should be in terms of harness, and that way everything kind of goes easier for you. So all these right here with the little stuff here, the rubber stuff, is external or goes through the firewall. These here are, I believe, like the AC fan blower motor stuff. And then this is your like passenger footwell side that you'll plug in a bunch of plugs to. And then this is your fuel pump control module. You will need that for any turbo swap you end up doing, I'm pretty sure. ECU plugs, I don't know that I mentioned those. And this is like a weird safety test plug, but it's there. It'll go by your HVAC piece. And so you have everything routed with the harness, and then you can kind of just toss it in the car and match up the plugs that go with each other, and I'll kind of go through that right now. Well, boys, that was fun. I hadn't done that in a while. Like, that was generally a course refresher, but some things to point out after routing. You can kind of see where I have everything. I don't have it on those nubs down there, right? I don't think at all. I always forget how to do those, but I have everything pulled in there. They're routed there, kind of in their general locations. When we go to put the actual HVAC in, it'll make more sense on how everything's routed in the dash bar and stuff. So we kind of got everything in its general area, So that should help a lot for the first step portion, routing the harness to their general homes. And now from here, we'll, see, I don't want to plug anything in because I feel like there's always something that gets in the way that you forget about, HVAC wise or bar wise, and it just routes better when you're alls, well, for most part, you can put the HVAC back in at this point, I think is what we're gonna do. And then we'll plug everything into their homes since everything's out of the way. After we plug everything into their homes for the HVAC and dash and everything is in, we'll route that wire that's like a spool right there of white back to the fuel pump area, and I'll explain how to go about connecting the harness to the fuel pump. I think it's a relay or something. He has to connect to something and I forget where it pins out to, but we'll get there. Good morning. This is where we left off last time. Have it all nestled in there. We got to put the HVAC components in. I got here this morning, started working on it, and then I realized I'm missing literally one screw out of this. So I left the most easy accessible screw, but essentially we're gonna put the HVAC components back in. And for putting it in, you can actually have the yellow piece on there. You don't have to worry about breaking it. It's just pulling it out for whatever reason. I'm pretty sure if I struggle, you'll see me struggling in the time lapse, and I'll probably say, hey, don't do it that way. Just put the whole thing in and then struggle with it behind the dash, or like not behind the dash, but behind or next to the firewall. It's a tricky one either way. So we're gonna get those nestled in there. We're gonna get the dash bar, which is nicely coated with some rust from sitting in the rain. I like to do that to my parts. I really like to patina them because I have no reason to. I just leave stuff out like an idiot. So we're gonna get the dash bar in. Once I got it all adjusted, I realized I need to route something a little differently. The ECU cables can route nice and clean, straight down, back behind here, leaving me room to maybe get a stud on there, depending on how much I push this forward more. But by the looks of it, we're pretty much pay dirt there. So now we're gonna put this piece on. I'm really not worried about this getting too much pressure on it. If I push it that way and then actually put a stud on, it should be perfect to get into there. Now, this can be put on afterwards. This is just like a drip hose for your AC. I guess I don't know, just drips. That's what drips. But I did have to move this out of the way, orient this better up on this arc here, because I had it hanging from here and ends up that I think it needs to hang from here. I don't know where this one comes in at, but it was definitely on this one, and that's not where it's supposed to be. So maybe it's supposed to be on that. I don't know, but however works best for you, because you take it out one way, put it back in another, and it never goes in back the same, honestly. I mean, probably, but I mean, you know my way, so yeah. So in terms of firewall, this has to go through it, and this has to line up with this hole right here. We have everything moved away, and then this has to slide, like this piece here slides into that, so it gets a nice good seal there. And this, there's a hole there you can see. We'll slide right over on that. That's I guess spline or whatever, shank. We'll go right into that starfish there. So that you'll want all good and clean. So in order to do that, and you also want this lined up here. You don't want anything falling in. Once you get it just right, it should just press right together, just like that. And I gotta look down low and see how I'm looking down low, because I feel like it's not on the star, but I can't really tell. So you can see this hose there, and there's a actual spigot you can put it on. You don't have to worry about lining that up. I'm not really sure how the star looks. I'll give you a good shot of it. Hey, what are you doing? It's 8 o'clock in the morning. 9 o'clock, whatever. The dogs are unruly everywhere I go. They always bark. I'm over it. now that the HVAC components are nestled back into their homes, not so permanent, but somewhat permanent, we're gonna get this dash bar in so that we can really have no issues in terms of routing, wiring. Everything will be perfect and routed around the dash bar. We're gonna use this right here to route some more cabling on the driver's side. So once all that's routed, then I can go back to plugging everything in. Now, plugging takes some time. I'm really trying to stay away from time lapse. I've been using a lot of time lapse, and the videos get long. People don't want you to time lapse. So I'm gonna probably get this dash bar in, show you the wiring, like the actual butt connector that you have to do for getting the merge into the car harness. And then we'll do, if people are interested, I'll do a separate video, because I'm not going to plug these all in today. I'll do a separate video explaining which plug goes where, because some people have issues with that in the beginning of their swap if they've never done anything like pulling those plugs apart. So that way it's kind of like an explanation video of just the plugs alone, and I can go more in depth in detail of how, you know, or what they go to, so it's easier for someone who's just getting into swapping a GC. Because the whole goal for this video series would be to motivate someone to swap their GC, and also to lead them into the correct direction without really hiding too many of the hard stuff or anything that's too scary that seems like it's hard to overcome. Because honestly, anybody can do this swap. It's just really the money and the time that leads to success or not. So with that being said, let's get this dash bar in and continue forth. All right, this is fun. Petey's gonna have to grab the hold of that side. There you go. I mean, this is probably a one-person job, but I'm being a sus. So I'm gonna put these on first. Hold on. Don't put that on yet. Push forward. So I want to push it onto those studs, and then literally, yeah, perfect. So that's in, but not secured. I got two, I believe they're 12s or 14s. They're not a 10. I don't know where they're at, but there's two studs here, two studs on that side holding that bracket to the wall, and then two studs, there's two studs right here that have to be secured. Once all that's secured, and then there's some studs that need to be secured down there. Once that's done, that's officially in. Honestly, I think like the whole time I had my swap, I had it routed wrong, but I'm not really sure. I'll double check everything, but I have this routed under here. I always wondered why I didn't have a rubber piece here if it went over the top, but now that I'm seeing it, I'm pretty sure it always went under the bottom, and I just jerry-rigged it over the top and it sat like crap. Probably one of the issues. I had electrical issues a lot of times, but you see how this bend here on the harness goes down, and there's this little cradle of plastic, and you see the tape where it's kind of where it used to be, so that goes there. You see these little wires here, you can kind of see like plugs have similar colors, so you can kind of see, all right, that strand goes there, and then the strands are also natural to what they were originally in before, position wise, or Brian gets them pretty close to it, so it's kind of easier to tell, all right, this plug goes here, this plug goes there. And a lot of the times, a lot of the plugs are like similar, like there's only like a couple similar looking plugs, but each one has its own specific home of where it belongs, depending on where in the harness it goes. So that's good to know. We have everything kind of hand tightened in here, because I'm missing my drill and I don't have my tools with me. So this dash beam is in, not enough to get the actual dash in today, but I'm at a happy point with where I'm at with this dash, what time, because I have a lot of stuff I have to do. I have to get ready for the work week. I'd like to get this video edited and possibly posted today, and so we're gonna keep moving forward. Like I said before, we're gonna do a plug video specifically on where all these plugs go, because I could spend like, I feel like hours on that alone. Not hours, but it's a little bit nicer to see that not in time lapse versus in time lapse. It might spend a little more time, but it'll be a little bit more informational and a little bit more I don't know, helpful. I want to be helpful. That's what we're going for. Portion of the video that you've been waiting for, probably the most informational portion of this whole thing. So you've been given like a spool of wiring, you're not really sure where it goes. He gives you a little bit of information. I don't know how it is done now. I've done this a long time ago, so probably it's more clean cut and dry now. But you can run this wherever you want, probably under these plastics here. But for the sake of time today, we're just gonna take it back to where it needs to go. This is for, I believe, so your fueling will kick on, but I can't remember. So tools you're gonna need: a pair of dikes to cut the wire that's in the harness out, a pair of crimpers, a pair of strippers. You could use those other ones, but these ones are better. And also some heat shrink. You could probably solder this so it'll turn out better. I got butt connectors because I'm lazy and I wanted to get this video done, so they work okay. It's not like it's super crazy, but probably a 14 to 18. You're gonna need one of those. This is the actual plug we're looking at here. Get you some idea of where we're at. So comes out the back seat here, and it feeds into this harness here, and this harness drops down in here. I don't know where it goes from there, but I do know that the wire you need to cut is a solid black before the plug going into this harness here. And the solid black, you want to leave enough room coming off the plug essentially. So we're going to trim back here. There's really not much to work with, but okay. Black wire, ground or something, I don't know. That there. Now we'll take our strippers. These are cool. Let's see.
You're able to pinch it and just pull it off.
Yeah. These are a 16, so maybe even bigger. We'll see if this goes on. Might be a little too small. Like, it's okay, it's okay. I came prepared, I tell you. So that slides over nicely. And then these are the worst crimpers, but we'll take that. A little tug on it, make sure your work's clamped. Now I'm gonna take the white cable, make sure it's untangled. Those strippers again. I think it is oh, there's some foam left from the sweet stereo install. Let's do like nice clean strip. I always like to twist my ends. I think it's a personal preference, but seeing that, literally just that simple. But because this is what I like to do, I usually forget this every time. This is really an unnecessary step, but you never know. If you pinch through the butt connector too much, sometimes you'll expose some of the material, the metal. So, and plus it looks gross. So I got a remedy. Take this heat shrink here, slide it over the longer wire so I can come back and slide it over when I'm done. Because I always forget, this is the part I always forget. I always forget this right here, to slide it over before I crimp. Retwist those wires. Okay, we're in. You don't want to be too far up, because then you'll miss the crimp itself and you'll hit just straight plastic and you'll waste your time. And do another one. Let's see how that holds. Okay, now for good measure, I can see the outline. We can do one more. Nice and firm grip. Handshake. And then I'll get a lighter and I'll slide this over the butt connector here. Doesn't look as tacky this way as well. And I'll heat that up and then I'll shrink. So That is literally the only wiring you've got to do with the iWire merge, physically, like clipping, merging anything. Like everything else is left to Brian over at iWire. He did a great job. Always, all this thing's held up. Now that you've seen everything and how it's routed and everything's in and nestled in, you can get towards plugging all those plugs in. But because this video is getting rather long with the instructions I've done with today's video recording session, I know it's kind of a different video because the first half's different than the second half. It always is. Trying to get better at what I do. This is the end of this video. We've got it at a good point, good stopping point for today. Got some work done. I got a lot to do around the house, so we're gonna head out. But it's motivation to continue further on this project, to do some more stuff with it. So got a trunk full of parts still that need to be sorted and put into where their homes are. But now that we've got the harness in and kind of routed, we can plug all that in, get the dash in. Once the dash is in, then we can move and get all these components into the dash and start clearing out the trunk and getting all these parts ready. So I think this is part 5 of the video series of the GC swap. Hopefully it's starting to help out a little more than in the beginning. Getting a little more comfortable with recording myself. I don't know, I'm working on it. Fuck. I hate outros, I hate intros. That's the one thing that I suck at though with this whole video recording process. I always miss details that are key, and that's what I'm trying to do less of now. So less missed key details and more content is going to be on the rise. So make sure to like the video if you liked it, comment below if you see something, and if you're interested in that plug video where I plug everything in a little bit more detailed and a little bit slower pace in terms of where all those plugs go, make sure to comment below and I'll post something up with a little bit more commentary on that as well. But most important of all, subscribe. Make sure you subscribe. We need to hit 1,000 subs at some point this year. So we're climbing, we're getting there. We're almost 300 right now. Not as fast as I'd like to climb, but I know that it's the struggle, the grind, and I understand that some of my content's whack, so let's make it less whack and sub for more less whack content.